Give it a second and it will be going live. All right. Yay. It's a thing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and recap a little bit. We are recapping a training that was done by Alyssa Shoemaker, and what she talked about quantum physics and LOA. And the reason it was really impressive to me that it was even brought up into this conversation is because I have been teaching LOA for a long time. And I've said for a long time that it's the emotion that really is like the magnet. It's really the emotion that creates that connection to the things that we want. And this is why you can read all the books and say all the affirmations out loud and think all the positive thoughts, etc., but you won't see change. And you won't see change because you're not feeling as though that change is possible for you or a certain reality for you. And it's really the feeling of certainty that brings that ever more into concrete form. So if in your mind, the thing that you desire to have is still a loose possibility, is still a maybe not, then that is going to become very difficult for you to target and bring into your life, simply because there's no certainty. The feeling of certainty is behind it. So I love that she went into detail with that. I love that she really dug into how to know whether you are on the path to really attracting and manifesting, or you're still in the very mental, brain state of imagining what you want but not really feeling it. So we are going to dive into that training some more, and I absolutely would love to hear your takeaways and your feedback, of course. I feel like Abby should be on this call, but I also feel like she probably didn't see that link. So I'm going to tag her real quick. I have a feeling she probably didn't see it. Okay. So before we jump into the material, Sabe, would you like to open up with announcements? I feel like we owe our team a lot of announcements.
Yeah, I have a lot to catch you guys up on.
Yeah, we have a lot of announcements, guys.
Yeah. So it's no surprise I've been super quiet on the team page and on my own social pages because I've been going through a lot because I'm 13 weeks pregnant. So, yep. And it was some of the hardest 13 weeks. I thought the end of the pregnancy would be hard, but I was mistaken. I had all of my issues up front and some scares, but we are in good standing now and doing well. So surprise, you guys are some of the first people to know. And in a couple weeks, I'll announce it to my audience and tell them, but we're having a baby.
Yay! Team met a baby. So exciting. And so that was happening, and I knew, of course, I'm the best friend, right? So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited to tell everyone,
Right away. So fair warning, this should be a warning label on the detox. Pregnancy may happen. So yeah. I definitely got pregnant when I was on the detox. And so coming off the detox, I just felt like they were detox symptoms that I was having, going back into real eating, but I wasn't. So I tell Shakti, hey, I'm pregnant. She freaks out, of course, super fun to tell her. But little did we know.
3 weeks later, so I am 3 weeks behind Sable. I am 10 weeks pregnant and had no freaking clue at all whatsoever. So also got pregnant right off the detox. So just saying, when she told me, I was already pregnant and I didn't know. So that is the craziness of this entire situation. So she is over being sick. I am deathly ill right now. Speaking to you guys, I want to vomit at the screen. So I have literally been not really working or sharing as much stuff because I'm just I had no symptoms for the first 4 to 5 weeks. And then week 9, I'm dead.
She got all my symptoms finally.
All at once.
But yeah, so it's meta twins is what we're having. because we're both having babies.
This is crazy. It's just nuts. And I also haven't announced publicly. I'm still like, what is even happening right now? Because I literally found out like last Monday. So it's been like a week of me knowing. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because Sable and I are both in that season right now, is understanding seasons and this business. And sometimes seasons are really hard, like really hard. I had a call with Joelle. Joelle Cease is the founder of Misfit Republic. She actually reached out to me last week, like perfect timing, right? When I was like, oh my God, I can't do anything. I'm so sick. I just want to lay down. Everything's the worst. You know, I was like in that place. And she's like, okay, Shakti, this is the season that you're in right now. It's not forever. You're not going to want to throw up and vomit at every turn forever. You're not going to want to like lay down and sleep for a million years forever. Like, this is a season. You're in this right now. So you need to figure out what your core things are that you are going to bring to this business and that you are going to pour your energy into, because right now you don't have an unlimited amount of energy, and you are used to having a boundless, unlimited amount of energy, which is true. I am used to being a powerhouse of energy. I am used to going, and nothing stopping me, even with a child, even with like a bunch of responsibilities. And these days, it's like I get one load of laundry in the machine and I have to take a nap. Like, I'm like, oh, it went in there. Go me. Okay, time for a nap. I've also developed a mysterious sudden ankle sprain that came out of nowhere. Like, I woke up one day with an ankle sprain. And so I'm literally limping like 24/7 now. I sprained my ankle. Don't know how. Probably relaxing, but that's where I'm at right now. So I'm in crazy amounts of pain because I can't really walk without being in pain. I'm braced the entire time. I'm pregnant and nauseated and everything, exhausted. I have a 5-year-old almost that I am minding and homeschooling at the same time. My home, this business, the team, the Diamond Dash group. Okay. I have all of the things. And so what I am learning to do, and what I want to share with you guys, because obviously this might not be the season that you are in, but all of our lives have seasons, and some of them are more challenging than others, is to identify what in that season that you're in, what are the 2 core things that you can bring to your business consistently, that you can pour into your business whenever there is crisis or whenever there is stress or strain, that you can give in that moment until that season passes and it's not the season that you're in anymore. So like, for example, one of the things Joelle told me was, okay, so you're leading a Diamond Dash. You have a group of people who are moving towards Diamond. Help them get there. Make that one of the 3 things that you pour your energy into, is helping these leaders get to their leadership role, because that is something that you put together before you found out you were even pregnant. And that is something that is going to be a side effect of business growth for you just by helping them grow their business. So pour into that and make that a priority. And the second thing is, once you announce into social media, it's like social media and your brand is huge. So continue to build that relationship with your audience of being authentic and showing them, now that you're pregnant, what are you doing with your fitness? What are you doing with your nutrition? What are you doing with these tools that you have for this particular phase of your life? And so it's a little bit hard for me right now because I haven't said anything. So I'm dealing with this feeling of inauthenticity with my audience because I can't really say the things that I'm dealing with. And so learning how to navigate that with grace and just sharing what I can share. Okay. Thank you, Beth. And sharing what I can share has been a challenge for me. It's been a challenge. I'm dealing with a lot of feelings of failure. I'm dealing with a lot of feelings of like, I am not doing enough. I am not showing up enough. Extremely emotional. So of course I'm like, that's where my head is going because it's such a radical change. But I am learning to do what I can with the energy that I have. And if it's not the 110 that I'm used to all the time, and it's maybe 20% one day or 2 days or 3 days, that's where it's going to be right now, until I don't want to vomit and I can take a deep breath and a lot of other things that are happening right now that are really affecting my speed in general.
And that's something I've been doing too. Like, I don't feel comfortable sharing right now on social media because of that authenticity that I'm like lacking, right? Like, I was very sick. I was very like dark in my mind because I had some scares. And so I literally like haven't left the couch in a few weeks because I couldn't bring myself to, like I've never been a mom. And then right away, like you go from super excited to something's wrong with the baby.
Yeah.
Like that was me. I was like up, super excited, and then like devastated. And there was nothing I could do for like 2 weeks until we got like all the testing done. And so like I didn't feel comfortable sharing that. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Like I literally just stayed on the couch. I like was miserable. But what I did feel comfortable doing was still reaching out to people who were posting online, right?
Yeah.
So still connecting with people. So I didn't feel like that I should be posting, right? Like I didn't have a story that I was willing to tell yet, right? Because I was still like so unsure of it. But when I would see my, following posts about their workout or asking for help, like I would still be messaging people, I would still be commenting to them, I would still be cheering them on, like batch working is so genius. Like, I had posted a whole month of workout warrior things and I had, done all of that. So like that was taken care of for me. So like I felt like that I was still able to like, for me to stop is hard, but I needed to. Like I needed to stop and just like regroup. So I'm glad now that I'm coming out of that and that I will get to share this story because it's such a big deal. But yeah, I was still just trying to navigate my way to like, how can I show up for my business? I felt like a failure. I felt like I had already screwed up being a mom, right? Like already. I'm like, how? Like it was out of my control, like, but I did. I felt that way. I am my world's like biggest critic. I am the hardest person on myself. And all of that was coming up at the same time and still trying to work my business and still try to get out of bed. I hadn't even cooked in like, I don't know when the last time I cooked a meal was. I just stopped. Like I stopped everything.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so it was just these little bits and pieces, like we're not all invincible. Like it happens to us all.
Yeah.
But Joelle's advice is spot on. Like find the things that you do feel comfortable doing and you can keep doing.
Yes. Right. And she shared from a place of wisdom because she has 2 kids and both of her pregnancies were high risk and she was bedridden, both of them, because of a condition she has with her cervix. So she was so depressed and went super dark real fast with both of them. And she always felt like she was never doing enough and she was just constantly shaming herself because of that. And so she's like, looking back from a place of wisdom, I wish someone had told me what I'm telling you, which is to pick your 2 things you're going to do that day that you can commit to and really do them, right? Like really show up for them. So like connecting was my 3rd thing that she was like, you really enjoy connecting with people. You really enjoy building relationships. You enjoy friendship building. So focus on that. Pour into that because that's the other thing that you do very organically and that doesn't really cost you a lot of energy. And so I'm sharing this. Maybe you're in a season right now where you're like all hands on deck. You've got the energy and you've got the bandwidth and you're running, which is amazing. Like take advantage of that. And one of the things Joelle said to me too is she said, you've spent 4.5 years earning the right to do this now because you have been busting your ass for 4.5 years. That's why you built this business, isn't it? So when you had another kid, you would have the space to breathe, isn't it? Isn't it what you wanted? And I had forgotten what I even wanted this for. I literally forgot that. And so it was Joelle who was like, this is your story. This is it. So be in your story and don't try to make it different than it is. If you hadn't earned the right, if you hadn't grown the business to have to rest on your laurels for half a second so you don't feel like death, then we'd be having a different conversation, right? So that was really important. And so I'm reminding you guys, like, why are you building this? And what is your personal goal? And what are the 2 things when the season is hard and when the going gets tough? What are the 2 things that you can show up for no matter what? And every day those 2 things might be different. So like today might be connecting with people. I do have a group starting. So following up with everybody who expressed interest in that group. And then tomorrow it might just be literally adding people. That's it. Like just finding some new friends, adding them. And then I'm like, I'm out. And then the next day it might be like, you know, commenting on some people's stuff. And then I'm like, need a nap. You know, so it's just as long as the energy is consistent and you are showing up every day and doing, what are the 2 things you can show up and do? What is the 1 thing you can show up and do? Right. So we have been wanting to tell you guys this for a long time, but it was, first of all, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I almost fell off the toilet that moment. Like that night, I literally almost fell out of it in shock. And then when I recovered the shock and I was able to put myself back together, I then told Sable, and Sable was like, what? You know, it was a lot. But disclaimer with the ultimate reset. If you're doing the ultimate reset and you have a partner in your life, you better make sure you fix, or they're fixed, or someone's fixed, because otherwise, chances of you reproducing are extremely high. Just gonna throw that out there. Just gonna say. All right. So now we got all that exciting news out of the way. Let's dive into some of this, because I feel like I really needed to listen to this message again, especially now, because when you are physically uncomfortable, it really affects your emotional bandwidth, and it affects how you emotionally project, and therefore what you magnetize. So I've had to be extremely aware of this. And Kari was so sweet and sent me this AM PM journal, which was like amazing and something that I was eyeing myself. And when she sent it to me, I've been doing that every morning and every evening. And it has really, really helped me to stay in line with gratitude, with mindfulness, and not veering for too long into like a place of darkness, and staying there. So what are some of the takeaways you guys had from these videos? I'd like to hear from you, from what she shared, that really either resonated or struck a chord or reminded you of something that was really important. Feel free to unmute yourself and share.
So for me, something that stuck out is like, this is a lot of information I already knew and that I practiced, but that I very easily get out of practice, right? It's very easy to stop journaling. It's very easy to not vision board. It's very easy to not spend quiet time, like in meditation, or, you know, like, it's very easy to go, you know, mean girl on yourself, right? Like those thoughts flow so much faster and easier than the positive ones. And for me, you know, this connection of the like positive, but also the emotion, which is why like journaling for me is always a win. I always feel the best when I am journaling, because when I journal, I follow a system where like I write like my perfect day. And when I write my perfect day, I mean, I talk about what it smells like, what it feels like, what the weather is like. And that's that emotion that she's talking about. Okay, guys. So it's as simple as that. Like my perfect day smells like a fresh cup of coffee in the morning. Okay. Like that brewing, you know, like, or that like dewy dawn coming in, right? Like use these vivid words that like pull on your heartstrings. That's the emotion. That's what makes you feel like it's real and it's happening. You know, what does the perfume of your partner smell like? You know, like what does, you know, like a storm rolling in, fresh cut grass, like those have very specific like smells, memories, emotions, like all of that tied together. And so when I journal, I write my perfect day, right? Because that's what my goal is. My goal is to every day live my perfect day, right? So that is like a go-to for me. I have a journal just for that, right? And I get out of the practice like everyone, like of doing things. But like one of the first things I do is like, I literally just free write about my perfect day. It includes what my work looks like. It includes what my free time looks like. It includes like what my meals look like. You know, did I have the luxury of like decadent ingredients that I didn't have to look at a price tag for? Like I literally write all of that stuff down. And then the next thing I do is I write pages of all the things I'm grateful for. And she talked about that. You have to show appreciation. So then I literally just bullet point like, I'm grateful for my perfect day. I write that I'm grateful for things that haven't even happened yet.
Yeah,
it ties into that belief that it has already happened, right? And so I do that every day. I mean, except for recently when I couldn't leave the couch because I was in my dark place, and I probably should have been doing it more then, right? But those are the first things we do. We neglect ourselves, right? So like just that nice reminder, and journaling might not be for you, right? But for me, that is how the easiest way. It might surprise you, but I don't see myself as an emotional person. I hate crying. I hate talking about feelings. I'm a tough lover. Like I'm not into that. Okay. And so the journal is like a safe place for me to really like unwind and like explore those things, because they're things I'm never going to talk about out loud ever. Right. And that for me is why it works so well. So maybe that will work for you guys too.
I love journaling because it makes things. I find with journaling, it's like I explore parts of my mind that I didn't know, and like it's like in the process of writing, I'll give myself a solution, or like I'll show myself something that I couldn't show myself when I was just thinking the thing, and I find that to be really fascinating, because why would that be? Why would it be that in writing something down versus thinking something? And one of the reasons I think that happens is because when you're writing, you have to slow down your thoughts to catch up to your hand, because your thoughts operate a lot faster than you can write. So I think when you go to write and you really slow down, you get to look at the full spectrum. It's almost like we only see a certain bandwidth of light, right? With our eyes, we only see a certain bandwidth of light. There are other parts of light that we cannot observe because we're not able to. We don't have the ability to see that. And with thoughts, I think that happens also, where we have so many thoughts occurring at the same time, and they're so fast that we don't always know every part of what we're thinking. But when we journal, it slows it down, and you catch all the details, as Sable wrote, you catch all parts of it.
I think too, it's very easy when you stay in your head to let unwanted thoughts in.
Yeah.
It's so easy to let your brain wander and like different thoughts pop in, and that negative thought pop in, right? Why are you thinking that? That's never going to happen. But when you're writing it down, the intention behind, like the pen to paper motion, regardless of what those tiny little mean girl thoughts pop in, I don't write those down.
Yeah.
Right. So since I'm not writing them down, that emotion is kind of being separated, right? Because those thoughts are always going to keep popping around, right? Like, and I don't think the intention is to completely negate all of those thoughts, just like when you're meditating, right? Like it is going to be challenging to eliminate everything. We acknowledge them, we ask ourselves why they're there, and we move on, right? So like when I'm thinking through my perfect day, I can get distracted and I can let all those other thoughts come in, or the groceries that I need to buy start fluttering in, or the chores I haven't done yet start fluttering in. And when I'm writing, that is the true, like authentic, like desires that I'm writing. And so that takes it like a step further.
I love that. I wanted to share something else about the quantum field of possibility, which she didn't necessarily talk about. She touched on this, but it's a way that now I can't even remember the person who really broke this down, that I was like finally began to really absorb it. It's not that when we are manifesting, we create a reality from nothing. That's not how manifestation works. It's more like all of these possible timelines exist at the same time. So for example, if we're going to put it in like Beachbody language, there is the timeline of you going emerald, the timeline of you going diamond, the timeline of you being a star diamond, superstar diamond, the timeline of you earning a certain income, the timeline of you leaving your job. There's all these timelines that exist connected to you and your business, simply because you're in the business and you have the possibility, right? So when you start doing things like journaling and meditating and doing gratitude work, and you're honing in on the timeline that you desire, okay, what ends up happening is you pull from the field of possibility the timeline that you wish, and you bring it towards you. So it's not that you created a reality from nothing. It's that all of these realities already existed. And what you're doing, it's a lot like that machine. You know that machine when you were a kid, you put in a quarter and there's a claw and you go ahead and like pick out the toy that you want with the claw? It's like that game. That is what you're doing with the universe. It's like you're sitting there and you're like, okay, what timeline is a timeline I'm really anchoring into? Now, when you spend a lot of time in, I don't know, when you don't have a clear vision and you don't have this anchoring into a timeline, then the claw is literally just like hanging in space. It's just suspended. And it can't really, you know, when you go for that toy in the machine, you got to commit. You know what I'm saying? You got to know the toy that you want and you got to push that button and it's going to do. Like you have to make sure it's going to grab onto whatever part of that thing you want, because if it just lightly brushes it, you're going to miss that toy. And so you're going to miss that round. You're going to have to find another quarter. You're going to have to do this all over again, right? It's the same thing. It's like if you don't commit to that frequency, that timeline, you just gently touch it and then you miss it. And then your claw goes back to the starting point and you're like, this doesn't work. And it doesn't work because you didn't commit. You didn't commit to the timeline. The certainty wasn't there. You know, it was like, I'm going to get that toy. I'm going to get that toy, you know, or I'm going to get that timeline. I'm going to hit that goal. But when you do commit and there's no way you're going to miss it when you commit with all that you are. There is literally no way. The only way you miss your mark is if you don't commit. The only way. The only way you lose is if you stop. The first time I heard that in this business, it changed everything. Because I was like, okay, so as long as I keep going, I get what I want. And that's true. 100%. When people are like, only 1% of people make it. You know why? Because the 99% of people stop committing. They got tired because it's human to get tired. It's human. I'm not saying it's not. 100%. It's human to get tired. Okay? It is not human to keep going. Like, it requires some superhuman shit for you to keep showing up for something that you want when it gets tough, when it doesn't look like it's happening, when you're frustrated, when you're hitting walls. It literally requires that you step outside of your own humanity to get what you want. But that's why the percentage is so low. Not because everyone else doesn't have the same access, only because everyone else stopped the claw game after a few tries. Claw game's broken, doesn't work. It's not true. Claw game works for everyone. You just gotta commit. That's the difference. Does that analogy make sense? Because I feel like that's really clear for me now. As explaining the claw was like, yeah, girl, that's exactly. Because I remember the frustration as a kid. I remember that feeling. You remember that too if you played that game. You were like, oh, come on. You know, and you have to look for what was going to be most accessible to you in that moment, right? And so that's how you build too on your goals, right? So just like in the claw game, when you're looking at the toys and you're like, which one can I really grab a hold of right now, right? Because not every toy is as easy to get as the other toy, right? Like some toys are in the perfect position for you to clamp on. And other toys are like sunken in there. The ones that you want, like the iPhone or whatever, is like in there, like, bang, can't get that box, you know, right? But here's what you do. You go, okay, I can't get to that one yet. An example, 5-star diamond. That's a big goal in this business, right? You're like, I can't really believe my way there yet. I can't commit to that yet because that seems so far. But what can I commit to that's closer? What toy is to the surface that will get me into the bottom of that claw game that I can get my energy behind? I can get my energy behind emerald. I can get my energy behind diamond. I can get my energy behind whatever else. And then you get that toy and you're like, got it. What can I get my energy behind now? Because in the process of getting your energy behind that one thing, you're going to shift as a person. And then you're going to believe in your capacity to get your energy behind the next thing. And so then your commitment will lock in harder. Okay. So this is how you build on that. It's not that you go for that up there right away. You go for like, okay, I know what the long game is for me, what my big goal is. But what is right here that is within my reach that I can lock into as a reality and bring that to me? What is that? That's where you begin. Yeah. And you dig your way in. Absolutely. 100%. So the field of possibility is with every single one of you for anything you want out of this work. The field exists. Hundreds of possibilities, endless possibilities, whatever your goals are. They're already, it's Abraham calls it the vortex. Every desire you've ever had is in your vortex. I called it the field of possibility because I like the visual of the field. I see the field a lot better in my mind, right? It's all there. Like Cerebro. There's another nerd reference, right? Professor X, he puts on the headset. All of a sudden, he can see all the mutants across the world. Boom, they come into, and he's like, I see you. I know where they all are, right? Same thing, the field. All of your possibilities exist, okay? That's a good visualization if you're a nerd like me. Putting on a helmet, right? Sitting in that chair and looking at your field of possibility. Literally looking at it and zooming into different timelines and seeing what is most available to you right now and going there. And then seeing where you're headed and just knowing that's the direction that you want to go in. Okay. So bringing some Abraham into this conversation because it legit applies to this. Feel free to unmute yourself and share some more takeaways of this video because it was so good. She was great.
You know, I really appreciated the video and where she was talking about like choosing your thoughts. And I know this, like I know for 10 years I've been reading and listening about choosing your thoughts, and it keeps coming up like over the last couple weeks, almost like popping in, you know, like you got to think a better thought, babe. You got to think a better thought. You got to pick something different because this one is not working for you. And I just forget that I'm in complete control sometimes of like the way that I feel and the experience that I'm having, regardless of what's happening around me. I'm still in charge of exactly like of my own experience. So I've been really experimenting with my son this week because he's just a great mirror for me. And we're having a lot of really good experiences right now together where I'm like, oh, I could pick a different way to think about this, you know?
Yeah.
And it's been really transformational and very enlightening. And so I really appreciated that. It was like, thank you. I needed to hear that again. And as I was listening to the video too, I was thinking about moments in my life when I like decided, I picked the thing, and within 24 hours, it was done. You know, I was like, I'm moving, I'm putting my house on the market. I put my house on the market, and in 24 hours, it was sold. And I had another house to move into. I mean, like I have the clear evidence of that, like alignment and manifestation. So I don't know why there are certain areas of my life where it feels like that's not available, you know? So just becoming aware of that, like I create the limitations, I create the blocks because I know it's all possible. So I really loved that. And the last thing that I would share is that her question of like, what's the core feeling that I am desiring? And if I can't reach it in a certain way, like how can I create that feeling now? How can I tap into it right now? So that was really a good reminder too, that I don't have to have the big thing, like the big goal, right this minute. Like there's something else that's available now that could create that same like vibration for me. And so I was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, thank you. Yeah. I knew that, but I had to hear it again, you know? Yeah. So yeah, it was just like all the like ding, 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 dings as she was talking. And it felt like so many things that I have heard before and that I know like inside of me, but they were all in the same 22 minutes. And so I was like, to say them all in a row, you know?
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Yeah.
So to Sable's point, I think sometimes the reason we think certain things are unavailable to us is because of our past, our feelings of unworthiness, our stories that we have about certain things. There are certain things that we don't have a story about. So making that happen is way easier than other things. Like I know plenty of people that have huge stories around relationships, they can't find a partner, and they have a massive story about that. Like, oh, men are this, or they don't exist, or da da da. Like years and years of the same story. And for me, it was like, I knew what I wanted. I set on my course. Within 6 months, I had what I wanted. Literally, it was like, boom. Like I didn't have a story about how it was gonna be so hard. Didn't have that. For me, my biggest story was always abundance, because I grew up around scarcity. I grew up around poor immigrant parents. So it was like we never had enough for anything. No one was a business owner. No one had their own business. So when I had that dream in my early 20s, when I started opening businesses to be a business owner, they were like, you're crazy. You're insane. That's impossible. You're never going to make it. No one makes it. Like, that's what they fed me about it. So it's taken so much work for me to say, no, yes, it is, because it's what I love. It's what I enjoy. It's what lights me up. I am going to do that because it is for me. Right. So in that case, I would say just choosing that timeline continuously, choosing it continuously. And don't argue with your mind, because what you can say, and this is something I started doing, is like, okay, I see that you don't believe that's available for you, and I'm choosing that anyway. I see that you don't think that can happen for you, and I'm choosing that anyway. And I'm choosing that anyway. And when you say that enough, the brain really stops. It stops being like, like it stops reacting that way, because it just knows what you're going to say next, which is, I'm going to choose that anyway. You know? So you start almost training your brain out of its own defense mechanism, just because it's almost like outrunning a child, right? Like kids will try to like outrun you, like, oh, let's see how much I can run. But if you just don't get tired, my dad always used to say that, if you don't get tired, you win. Like it's you or the kid. Like someone's gonna get tired first. You bet that kid's gonna get tired first than me. That's basically how you win at the energy game, right? So with your brain, it's the same thing. It's you have to win at the energy game. That's it. At the energy management. You do that, it's all good. You win. End game. And so now too, like sometimes your brain can't get behind the big thing, but it can get behind the other thing, something a lot closer to where you are. So sometimes I distract my brain by going for the less obvious thing, like the more less in this case, like we're talking business related, go for the smaller goals consistently daily that will give you the big goal without focusing so much on the big goal. Like know what your big goal is, but just focus on the small daily things and getting those done, because the brain won't resist you there. It'll be a lot less resistance than being like, I'm going to make 6 figures in 1 year and da 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 da. Like, your brain's just going to be like, what? You know, but if you go for like, I'm going to sit down and answer my messages, your brain's like, okay, I guess we're going to answer some messages. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't freak. So I also feel like it's part of learning the language of your brain and how to talk to it so that it works with you, instead of just doing that thing where it immediately wants to freak. Oh, to know and not to do is not to know. Ooh, that's a good one. That's deep. That is deep, actually. That reminds me of like how you do anything is how you do everything. That quote, the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, God. That was big.
I'd like to share. I have been really focusing a lot on this whole thing about change, like how resistant I am to change, and how and she talks about that, like how we as humans have a hard time with change. And that's why I loved all her assignments, that you have to create another being, because basically I'm just running off the program, the subconscious program. And so like for me to visualize being like not going to a job that I don't like like that's hard for me to imagine, even though it's something I say that I want, but in my brain it's that pathway that I've gone to for 50, whatever, my working life, my 35 years or whatever. So it is a retraining, and I think it's something that I'm really excited about, because she gives you such concrete tools that it's like every day, like what the power of the subconscious mind talks about, that like every day you have to visualize who you are in the, like you're not that person right now, but you have to create, you have to, like Sable was writing it down, you know, this is my perfect day, this is who I am, these are the smells, these are my experiences, these are my feelings. And it's, I don't know, it's like, why don't we do it? It's because it's the worthiness, it's the program, it's whatever your trauma is, it's right in there. So it's it was just a really, really good call, just to bring back all that information that we know, but to know and not to do is not to know. So
Amen.
it's like, let's do it, you know, let's commit to that visualization, half an hour every day. Let's commit to writing 10 minutes of who we truly are, and then the brain's going to get it eventually. It's repetition. It's like learning an instrument, you know, you pick up a violin, you know, hardly do how to do anything. Every day you do something, you do something, you learn new notes, you put it together, then all of a sudden you're creating music. And that's what we're doing. We're learning the instrument of who we really are, but we have to learn take all the steps. So anyways, I think it's very powerful call. Really appreciate it.
I do think we learn in layers too. So I think we know to some degree, like we'll be introduced to this concept of like generating emotion and visualization and the power of choosing timelines. And so we absorb that on like a certain level of our being. And then we fall out of practice because we haven't fully integrated it into our being. Like we're learning it in layers, right? Depending on how available we are to receive that. And so until it's fully integrated, it doesn't become like a regular thing, right? And so I can compare this most readily to like parenting, like me parenting now and how I'm able to handle situations is like a world of a difference to when I had a 1-year-old and no experience. And every time he had a tantrum, I'd freak out. And every time that something happened, I'd freak out. And every time, and now it's just like, here's this, here's that, grab this. Like, you know, it's just honestly second nature to just handle seeming emergencies, right? Like it just becomes programmed, ingrained, integrated. You just know how to do the thing, right? A lot like driving a car. When you're first driving a car, you're like, oh my God, I have to look up and left and back and turn signal and windshield wiper and lights dark. And, you know, like it's so overwhelming. But after a while, you can literally drive a car, drink a coffee, scream at a kid, or like, you know what I mean? Like throw a thing, like you can do all the things at once and still get where you're going alive. And it's like literally a miracle. So this is the power of the brain, though. This is the power of the brain. The brain is capable of doing so much more, but we have to train it. We got to that point driving a car because we programmed ourselves to do the thing. So when it comes to creating success or to creating a certain future where you're only doing the things you love, living your perfect day, you know, in a body that feels good and strong and capable, when you're manifesting any of those things, you've got to drive it every single day. Like you don't drive, you don't integrate. That's just how that works.
And it's fun to see.
By the way,
what's that?
Unstressed program, I feel is going to be really good for this. So if you guys have not done doing that program, join me in my group if you don't.
It's amazing. I just wanted to speak to also the fact that when you have an experience of manifesting because you created that idea in your brain, like I've been feeling a lot more relaxed, and so more opportunities are coming in for me because I'm not as stressed and I'm more in the mindset of everything is coming to me. Then you get that experience of how powerful you truly are, of creating what you really want. And it's just like, write that down, you know, like write that experience down, because it's that feeling that if you take into the next day, and they talk about this in The Slight Edge, like write down experience that you had during the day, that just every nuance of that experience, and you're training that brain for that good feeling. And then of course you're going to manifest more of those experiences.
The relaxation is huge. That's why I think Unstressed is so, yes, I'll add you, Beth, to my Unstressed group. I'm really excited about it more than anything because I feel I haven't even done a meditation from that program yet. I want to just kick it off for who's going to be in that group.
So good.
Because I really want to be like in the experience with anybody who's going to do it for the first time, and just like really have that genuine like, whoa.
That's cool.
But the relaxation is what lets things in. So it's not just about magnetizing, visualizing, and committing, but it's surrendering into the receptivity of what you've called in. And for a lot of people, it's that surrender and that relaxation into your body that actually feels harder. It feels a lot easier for you to have that kind of frantic energy, you know, it's not happening, it's not happening fast enough, but when is this going to happen, when is that going to come in? And that, what that does is just shut you out so much faster. So powerful reminder. Thank you for bringing that up. So good. So much wisdom on this call, y'all. Y'all are wise. Y'all know that? Y'all are really wise. For real, for real. Anybody else like to share takeaways from the video that you watched?
I just want to mention, y'all, that last week when I made it to the team call, I was the mom hustling to do everything in the car. And I did it. It was autopilot. And also, I chose to put horses back in my life. I'm not waiting anymore. So I need to hit them. Woohoo.
For you. That's a huge part of Beth's is horses.
And I really enjoyed the part where she said you need to check in like every hour on your feelings so you're in control of them instead of just letting them run on their own, because I do that a lot where the feelings get me instead of me being in control.
So good. So good. All right. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions about how to integrate this information in your work, or anything that we can help you find more alignment with as you go forward? Unstressed. So just a little bit of like housekeeping business wise. Unstressed is now released, and I advise opening a group for Unstressed and just bringing people in. A lot of people need meditation right now. I think it's a brilliant offering to give people. But also 30-day breakaway is coming in October. So this is a running and weight training program. I imagine it's going to be extremely popular because you've never done an outdoor running program before, especially with like coached running. And right now I just like today I did Dallas's, who's the trainer who's doing that program. I did her first trimester workout and my ass was handed to me. And I was like, oh Lord, she's intense. She's a really amazing trainer. So get excited about her program. So gotcha. I'll add you too, Jillian. All right, take a note. Any questions? So I'm adding Beth and Jillian into that group. And if any of you guys would like to be added afterwards, let me know. You're welcome. And I will add you. So I'm going to keep going into the, I have to actually go into Mindy Wender's team page and pull out the, these calls and like find the links and put them into the group. So I know that one already happened. I think, I don't know if Lindsay Matway did another training and it was another coach who was like a repeat training. I think that it's one of the superstars came back and did a training. So I will find that and upload it. And then next week we'll be covering that video. So that's kind of my goal, is that we will go through the whole superstar training series for every Wednesday, as well as include things like questions or anything you guys might need help with. I did also have a one-on-one Zoom with Angel and Lisa recently as new coaches, just to kind of get their feet on the ground and understand more of what they're doing with the business. So if you feel like you need one of those calls, please let me know. And we can set that up. If you are like Michelle is really, really close to hitting her Emerald goal. So if you're really close to that Emerald and you want to get into the Diamond Dash, you can. I'll just put you in there because the Diamond Dash is going to be for 30 days. So it's twice as long as we did for Emerald Dash. And yeah, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to comment and let us know either on this video if you're watching it on our team page, or on our team YouTube channel, or on the team page when we upload the video. All right, family, have an amazing night. I love you all so much. Bye.